So if you want to sit onto your bolster or you want a little extra seat, you can, you know what? Actually, we'll stand because we've been sitting already. And it's like everyone's like, all right, let's stand up. So we'll get a little intentional movement again because during pregnancy, you still get to move. We want to connect even more with that energy, with that prana. So we'll first do some breathing practices that help trace the prana flow. If you've done Tai Chi, this isn't Tai Chi if you've seen Tai Chi, but it's got that similar chi is also another word for energy or another word for breath. So during our pregnancy, that's the time where we're more connected with that lunar energy, that feminine, watery energy. So a lot in prenatal practice, and maybe you'll even start noticing it kind of in your daily life, that you do more of these kind of figure eights. You start rocking more. Maybe that's one because you're experiencing discomfort and you just feel like you can't hold still. But it also starts to signal that sense of your baby. You're already starting to bring calming practices to them. So you notice if you're a forward and back rocker, if you're more of a bouncer, and you might see that your baby's going to start to lean toward that at some point. So what we'll do first is we're going to trace the pathways of our energy. So already I mentioned that idea of apana, which is the downward energy. Udana is our upward energy. Then we also have exhale, which is samana, which is like our strengthening, centering. That was that idea of hugging our baby in, pulling up with the exhale of the pelvic floor. And then our inhale is vyana, is spaciousness, like spreading the wings. So as we'll start this kind of subtle, and then you can kind of join in. So with your feet about as wide as your mat, you can find some buoyancy in your knees, a little shift back and forth. And then bringing that swaying towards stilling and just noticing. You might close your eyes, shifting weight towards the balls of your feet, or shifting weight back towards your heels. You can kind of find the in-between of that, not all the way forward or all the way back. And then noticing the shift towards one leg, maybe your hips slide, the shift towards the other leg. And then again, finding that in between. So you might imagine like you're sending a root down, pushing down through your heels, so that your toes can soften and spread. And as you feel your inhale, maybe imagining yourself growing a little taller from that space. And as you exhale, you feel that push down through your heels, just elongating. Inhale, you grow a little taller. And exhale, you feel a little more grounded, more stable in your feet. And then you start to take that little softening in the knees. And with your next exhale, take a soft squat. So just bending your knees, think of melting down towards the ground. And I like to let my hands be part of the guide too. So as you inhale, reach your arms up to the sky, get a nice long stretch. And then as you exhale, like your fingertips are kind of raining down towards the ground, you can start to feel a good release in your low back. Inhale, we rise back up. And exhale, sinking down. Inhale, rising up, bringing that uplift. And exhale, sinking, being a relaxing, a calm. One more like that. We know our inhales can bring us uplift when we're feeling tired. And our exhales can encourage if we're feeling too stimulated, that relaxing. Then also reach your arms out wide like an X, like a star. Our inhales are expansive, full, blooming. And then our exhales, start to curl yourself up. Exhale, you're strong like a rock. Inhale, you're spacious like a bird. Exhale, you're strong like a rock. So our breath reminds us, inhales, that we can expand, we can stretch. But our exhales, we're centered, we're stable. Again, inhale out, and then we'll do all four together. Exhale, sink down, calm, rooted. Inhale, stretch up, tall. Exhale, squeeze in, strong. Inhale, float out, expansive. Sinking down with the exhale, last round. connection with yourself, with your breath and energy, then you might bring your hands to rest along your torso, along your baby. And you feel that connection there. Maybe if a name or something specific or a partner comes up, you can think of that connection or just simply connected to that greater sense of nature and creation. Of your power and potential. Of your trust and care. Inviting that energy all around. Starting to let your hands float down towards your thighs. And we start to take a bend to the knees, sending the butt back. Your hands are supported on your thighs and you just start to find a subtle tilt of the tail. As you exhale, tucking your chin, rounding. And as you inhale, sending your tailbone back, let your belly drop here. Shoulders relax. Doing that a couple times, our standing cat-cow. Exhale, take a little curl at the tail, maybe even tuck your chin. And inhale, expanding your tail back, letting the muscles of the core, belly, shoulders relax. 2 more like that. Good. Noticing if the toes are gripping, maybe relax a little through the toes. Always okay to move your feet wider if that feels better too. And the next time you send your tailbone back, pausing there, using your inhale to look forward. So this is that add a breath before we stand. Find your balance and then exhale, bring yourself up. Just taking that time. You feel a sense of dizziness, finding softening in your knees. And taking our next inhale, expand the arms up. And as you exhale, bend your elbows, bringing your thumbs towards your middle back. Starting to stretch into the upper chest, upper back and arms. Inhale, send your palms up high towards the sky. And as you exhale, rocking over towards your right, focusing on that stretch in the side body, just one side at a time. Pressing firm through your left leg, your opposite leg. Inhale, rising back center. If you feel tension a lot through your low back, think of lengthening your tail, that little hug in, and then we stretch over to the opposite side. Good. Balancing yourself out. Space in those intercostals, the muscles between the ribs. And inviting your next breath, rise up. As you exhale, let your knees bend, hands come down towards your thighs. Inhale again, look forward. And then exhale, let yourself sink a little lower. Imagine pushing out through your outer heels, and we're going to build a little intentional heat, a little intentional strength in the legs. Good. As you're pushing out through the heels, you should feel the gluteus medius, the outer parts of the thighs engage. And then see if you can lift your toes, pressing down at the base of the arch of the foot. And then dropping one shoulder. We get that little bit of twist, that little bit of stretch through the side body. You can relax your toes down. Inhale your chest back center. And exhale, dropping the opposite side. So as we stretch into the side body and the muscles of the core, we're just preparing the body for that stretch that's coming. So it's not so surprised as our body grows. Inhale, bring yourself back to center. And we'll lower ourselves to the ground. So knees bend a lot. Walk your hands out. And then bring one leg back. And then the other, we pass through a kneeling position. And so with that relax and with that extra relax or release in your body, sometimes the joints feel a little tender. You know, in my yoga practice, one of the biggest things is my wrists felt all loosey-goosey when I was so used to being able to do down dog. So if you feel it a lot in your wrists, that's normal. And you might just drop right to your forearms, which we'll all meet there eventually. But checking in, see if you can take your feet outside your knees, so just a little bit wider. So this can be adaptable to any of your yoga practice if you're in a regular class or just kind of doing stretches on the floor. But I encourage that opening across the pelvic channel. And start to draw a circle. Sink your hips to one side, over to the other, and start to swirl forward. You can always take the knees even wider too if that feels more spacious on your back. Finding a real fluid sort of motion, you might bend your elbows a lot. Good. Not about how big, but how smooth. Maybe forearms are down. Start to swirl in the opposite direction if you haven't already switched. And from that swirling, start to come back to balance. Shoulders come over wrists. If you've lowered to forearms, pop back up to the palms or the wrists. And we can find our blocks here if that feels better for the torso too as we prepare to come up. Keeping your left shin connected, I'll be your mirror. Take your right leg out to the side. Good. And we just start to press towards that outer line of the leg. And again, shifting this time forward and back. Good. Just oiling and bringing that sense, just like sitting in a rocking chair. Feeling the sway of waves. The next time your hips come over your knee, your center balance, keeping your left hand down on your block or on the ground, bring your right hand up to your hip. And so we're just starting to get that open twist. Top arm reaches to the sky. Good. So we're focusing on that rotation open through the collarbones. And then we'll take a low warrior two. So your leg that is extended out, turn the heel in. You can take your top hand to your knee and then rise up to a little lunged stance. And here we're focusing on just opening across the inseam of the thighs. You can kind of ease in and out of this. So again, if you're in a regular yoga class and you decide you want to take a low warrior two, say your teacher says we're going to warrior two, all you do is bring that back knee down. So now we can invite the arms out if you haven't already. Take your arms into a T. Good. And as we take that lunge, think of pushing down into the front leg. So down into the foot. Rather than just sinking out, we push down. Good. Lower your right hand towards your knee and reach the left hand up to the sky. Maybe more of a side body bend here. Good. You can imagine pushing the front of the hips forward, especially if you experience sciatica, or if this is kind of that spot where during pregnancy we're avoiding doing these big back bends. Here we think of pushing the hips forward to open that front line of the hip. It's like sometimes a tricky spot to stretch as your baby grows. Good. Taking the top arm forward and down, exhale, lower to the ground. Finding your blocks or find your mat. Take a little bit of strengthening in that outer glute. So sending the right heel out. Think of lifting the heel. This might be plenty, or if you wanted to engage a little bit more work, you take little pulses of that heel up towards the sky. Good. And always the breath is that good check-in point. If you're able to keep your breath fluid, you're not holding or tensing, then that's a good amount of work. Then everyone start to slide that right leg back long. Take a stretch into the calf. So pushing back like you're doing half of a push-up, especially our legs, our feet start to hold more weight as we grow more pregnant. Giving the feet nice attention, working into the legs and ankles. Important for that circulation. Good. Now go ahead and lower both knees down to the ground. If you haven't found your blocks already, go ahead and take your hands onto blocks. So you can walk them forward, dropping the chest for that child's pose. So maybe your belly is growing more spacious, and so the arms up can give us that extra lift. It also helps us keep the pose active. So we talked again about relaxing. You don't want to just hang into your joints. But with the blocks, you're still kind of high-fiving the ground. You're staying, does that make sense, strong in your shoulders. Opening the chest for all that cradling, maybe nursing, feeding. Put that power into your palms. Use your inhale to start to rise. Walking the hands in with your blocks. And making sure there's space on the opposite side, so maybe bolster slides forward. So you can extend your opposite left leg out to the side. And starting first with just that little wave, shifting forward and back. Again, maybe coming down to forearms can be especially useful, just kind of sinking, swaying. It's always hindsight, but I felt like the days that I ended up giving birth, it's like I felt so dense. I felt so much of that apana. It's like, of course you're super pregnant, but I just wanted to sit. I felt like the earth was like pulling me down. And then, give it a couple hours or many hours, and there was the baby. So next time you shift forward where your shoulders come forward and your hip is over your back knee, push down through that same arm as the knee, so that's what makes it an open twist. And we can reach the left fingertips up towards the sky. Good. Plenty of space across the front of the pelvic tilt here. And then thinking of growing out of that lower shoulder, not sinking into our joint. And then your extended leg, bring your left heel in towards you. You might take the hand to the knee first as you rise up for your grounded low warrior two. We squeeze the glutes and think of lifting the front of the hip. And sometimes looking down can help encourage that exhale. This is the hug the baby up exhale. And then inhale, the arms stretch out into the T. Good. Reaching in opposite directions. We can find a little bit of lunging sway. So that exhale, stable. Inhale, light. Then we balance that softening and strengthening. Settle into the pose. Feel rooted, sinking, but also rising, a lift through the crown of your head. Lowering the left hand down to the thigh, take the right arm up, maybe over in the sky. Yes. Again, valuable if we feel a lot of compression at that front of the hip. Relax where possible, so we notice tensing in the toes or the jaw, try to soften there, save that strength. Then looking forward and down on an exhale, close down. Take hands forward towards your blocks or your mat. Let your left heel extend back out towards the side. And then thinking of rolling onto the balls of the foot, lifting through that outer hip. You might take that just little roll forward and back. Or you can invite more intentional strengthening by finding, a little lift of that outer thigh. So these exercises, especially valuable during that postpartum, 4th trimester, as we start to rebuild all of the flesh, all of the muscles and tissue that opened so expansively. Good. Start to navigate the foot back down to the ground, sliding both legs back. We'll take one more of that extended puppy pose. So rather than sending hips back like child's pose, start to tilt your tailbone up and send the arms forward. And you might go down onto forearms or keep the arms straight as you scoop the tailbone back but send your heart towards the earth. Here, even a little soft swaying forward and back, or thinking of windshield wipering the feet, meaning bringing the toes out to in. Good. Starts to encourage that intentional opening of the pelvic floor. And then letting your shins settle back down towards the mat, towards the earth. And then we'll start to rise ourselves from that. So again, you could be on forearms or set your palms down. Coming to a more traditional tabletop. So that cat-cow is going to be really important here, where we're going to explore intentionally finding that release, that sagging at the belly. So noting that we're not pulling the shoulders up by the ears. You can find a bend in the elbows and think of peeking your heart forward. So first we're going to do this idea of lengthening from tail to crown with a little arch. And that's different than drooping, letting ourselves sag. So that's important too, but first we're just going to intentionally lengthen. So from a neutral spine, a little tilt up of the tail and a lift forward. Shine your heart forward and stretch across the front of the core. Good. And then come back back to neutral, not round, just neutral as you exhale. Inhale, lengthen from tail to crown. And then exhale, soften, neutral. Imagine squeezing your knees towards each other on that exhale, that's samana. So inhale, feel dhyana, spacious in your chest and your hips. And exhale, imagine hugging your knees together as you find a little neutral spot. Good. Now this next time is the last time, and then as you exhale, hug the knees in, pause here in your strength. And then allow your pelvis to do the tilt up and your belly to really sag. And we just take a couple breaths settled in here. Again, you could be on forearms, but we really want to just let your baby hang. So think of just letting the belly soften, letting the torso hang. Almost like you have like a little, I always just think of like when you get a goldfish and like at the fair. I don't know if that's even allowed anymore, but a little fish in a bag, and like how just a little subtle movement, the fish is like, yay, now I'm gonna ride the Ferris wheel. So you can find just a little shift and wiggling. And so what we're doing is we're helping the muscles of the core relax, but also encouraging some space for your internal organs that have been pushed up against your back body. We're giving them that awareness of breath space. Give that baby just a little bit more invitation through the synovial fluid in the hips, the amniotic fluid, and with the baby, just little kind of jiggle, relaxed and open. Maybe you imagine that in your brain too, just a little kind of jiggle, relaxed and open. All the extra blood, extra hormones. Okay. So as we come into our downward facing dog, we want to keep this sense of like, oh, softening, not an intense hugging, but just a softening as we lengthen out. So start to take your hands forward, thinking back of when we had our hands on our blocks. You might take a bend into your elbows so that they're bending down towards the earth. And especially second trimester onward, but we're creating more space for the baby. So as you shift forward, take your feet to the outer edges of your mat, where think of our down dog becoming broader side to side, not necessarily longer on your mat. So it might feel short from your traditional down dog. Tuck in your toes, shift a little weight in the hands, and then lift the knees as you press your torso towards your thighs. See if you can kind of take a little bounce in the knees, that softening. And then start to lengthen your legs, one at a time or both. You imagine trying to bring most of the weight into your legs. So you might walk your hands back, a hand print, or the feet a step to really let yourself dangle here. Good. And from your downward facing dog, start to walk your hands back and your feet forward. So you'll come to stand about the middle of your mat. Feeling the weight sink back into your heels, your hands come up to your knees, and take an inhale to look forward. Settling your exhale, you might bend the knees a little bit. And then inhale, nice and balanced, we rise ourselves up. And setting out that, your hands can come to your hips, that sense of balance. So thinking of our hips here, they can be tilting forward. So that was like our cow pose, tailbone up. Or we can be rounding our spine back and tilting to create that cat pose. And then we also can have our weight to one side and our weight to the other. We're going to see if we can take our body kind of in a figure 8 with our hips. So I'm not a dance instructor, so don't worry about matching to the music. We're thinking of scooping back, swirling one, curling the tail under as we go forward diagonal, scooping back, around and forward. Channeling SpongeBob, if that makes sense. Bring it around. And you can get as fancy or as expansive with this move as you like. But what we're doing is we're encouraging that release that's already starting to happen in our pelvis to be comfortable, to be that's something that we want, this kind of real fluidity. Because especially we have our parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest. In moments of intensity, we go into fight or flight, and our muscles tense up, and we overuse some of our energy or skip out on some of the relaxing. So as much as we can get our bodies comfortable with the idea of tilting, turning, wiggling, we encourage that sense of safety in our own nervous system and in the nervous system of our babies. We're already great parents if we take these moments to look awkward. So finding that little figure eight. Maybe you try switching the direction, feeling the tilt of the hip. And we'll start to come into a yoga sequence. Again, maybe poses that you've been familiar with in your regular yoga classes. And so how to modify those, and then also things that can be just specifically like, oh, this is perfect for pregnancy, perfect for that prenatal. So as we bring ourselves into just a little bend of the knee, so we'll have a wider stance. So maybe you're used to being like on the midline of a mat. We'll take that a little bit wider. So stepping your right leg forward first, prepare for warrior one. We step forward, feel the firm, hug your muscle to your bone, so squeezing the quadricep. And then guiding the bend in the leg, slide your left foot back about 3 feet or so. Your toe might turn out a little bit wider. Good. Taking the extension of your front leg and look towards your baby. Think of hugging your baby in a little tilt under of the hip. And then as your chin comes level with the earth, exhale, bend into the front knee. Taking your arms forward, thumbs up, and then swirling the pinky side of the hand in. We start to reach arms and legs away from each other. Back heel is pressing all the way to the ground. Good. And our warrior one with that internal, external rotate of the arms, helping to support the strength in our core, support the strength in our chest. Good. And then we'll start to take a soft bow. So as you exhale, think hug baby down. We'll start to float the arms back. Exhale. Stay for the inhale. And then the next exhale, arms sweep up, think hug the baby up. Good, little subtle. Stay for the inhale. Exhale, hug the baby down. Stay for the inhale, spacious on your chest. Exhale, hug the baby up. On the inhale, extend your front leg. And as you exhale, let your hands float down. Your hands could come knuckles right onto your hips, or sometimes they can feel nice on forward folds to really support into your belly as that weight starts to build. And we take engagement. Quadriceps are hugging the bone as we bow forward, bringing the torso more level with the earth. And here you could experiment with that same idea of kind of letting the baby hang. You could invert yourself more and more as you bow forward. But if your nose wasn't touching your shin before, again, this isn't the time to push the flexibility more. We build that firm foundation. This is helping support the muscles to kind of give us space. Can't necessarily not get sciatica, but doing these sorts of moves can help support if you're feeling that sort of tension. Opening across. Good. On an inhale, look forward. Bend your front knee as you exhale, setting that buoyancy, and then inhale, rise up. Nice and strong through the legs. We'll bring the back foot up to meet the front. You might take 1 or 2 steps. Good to practice your balance. Find that fresh balance. And we'll take the opposite side. So bending into the knee, feel your support. Your left toes are forward. Your right foot steps back about a foot or 3, enough that you can seal the heel. You can push that outer edge of the foot down. Looking towards your baby, think of scooping up and in to open the hip flexor. And then exhale, bend into the front knee, almost like you're pushing the mat away, front foot and back foot. Start to take the arms forward, palms facing up. The elbows are heavy and hugging in. We reach on the diagonal. Good. Feel that inhale long from your back heel to your fingertips. And then we'll check in with that breathing. So just kind of aware at first. Okay, my inhales are expansive, stretching tall. My exhales are grounding, strengthening, calming, centering. So feel the lightness of your inhale, and as you exhale, think hug the baby down as you bow. Stay for the inhale, hugging the baby up as you exhale. Arms rise. Stay for the inhale, back leg is still active and strong. And exhale, bow. You can keep your eyes kind of on a fixed point in front of you, or imagine them just kind of trailing towards your thumbs. Inhale, we rise up. Exhale up. And then allow the hands to float down, finding your super person, or hugging into your belly. Extend your leg, inhale. And then that tilt of the tailbone back, exhale, bow. Exploring that sense of balance here. Broad across your collarbones, lengthening through your low back. Supported and strong. We take the inhale to look forward. Exhale, bend your front knee, feel your stability. And then inhale, rise your torso up. Good. Stepping your back foot forward, a step or 3. And you can take some of those sways or figure eights. Noticing how that strength and mobility came into your hips and pelvis. So really focusing on the front and back line of the body. And then we'll take it towards the inseam and outer seams of the legs, of the hips. We'll just take one long step to open towards our side wall. So step your right foot back. Your toes are going to face towards towards the side wall there. Turning your heels in and toes out. And we'll take a sunflower squat. So as you exhale, start to bend your knees. Your hands could slide down your thighs. And then here, taking a couple of those little pelvic tilts. So think sending your tailbone back. And then as you exhale, sipping through the straw of your pelvic floor, a little curl under. So send the tail back. And then curving under. Good. Try that again. Back. And as you curve under, then extending your legs, start to rise. Arms reach out and up, squeeze your glutes. Again, if the balance feels a little off, you can narrow your stance, turn the toes more forward. You don't sink as low. We take our next sink, knees bend. Imagine sliding your back against a wall, lengthening through your low spine. Good. And then inhale, rise up. So the weight is going to kind of want to train forward, but better to explore keeping the torso upright and not going as low. Good. Inhale, squeeze your glutes, squeeze your butt at the top. And then exhale, we'll take a sink down, last one. Let your arms then float out towards the sides. Maybe you explore wiggling your toes as you strengthen here. Relax where possible. Has anyone done the ice cube practice or the ice cube test yet? Okay, well, you can have your partner do it too. You just hold an ice cube. It's not actually going to hurt you, but it's a way that you can practice kind of breathing through challenge. And maybe you're like, I'm already pregnant, I'm experiencing, or I'm in spaces where I'm experiencing challenge. I don't need to take that on right now. But it can be kind of fun, like, okay, hold this ice cube and practice breathing. Or the squats feel like not too much. Good. Especially on a day like today. Hold an ice cube, you're like, oh, that sounds fabulous. Yes, please. Good. Now let's think of just relaxing out of this, like it was no big deal. Beautiful. Turn your front toe towards the front of your mat, towards me. And your back toe towards the long edge. We take our warrior 2. Maybe you can wiggle that back foot back a foot or 3, but better to start narrow as we bend the front foot, think of sinking your pelvis straight down. So we're not going forward with our hips, but just down. We'll kind of explore that a few times. So as you inhale, extend your legs, squeeze your glutes at the top. As you exhale, bend the front knee, think of lengthening your low back. Especially during pregnancy, that as a baby gets bigger, it can be a good challenge to invite that curl under. So inhale, extend both legs. Exhale, bend. Good. Inhale, extend, imagine a lift like a puppet through the crown of your head. And exhale, settling in. Good, we'll stay here. Take the arms out into a T, and then give yourself a hug, your back arm over your front. You can hold right to the shoulders, or maybe taking backs of hands together. Stretching through the upper back and shoulders here. Good. Make sure we take that time to give ourselves hugs. And then we take just a soft twist towards that front leg, and then start to bow. If it feels like too much through your back leg, you can wiggle the foot in. But here we start more of that release into any low back tension and pain we're feeling. And we're getting part of a twist here. So maybe you're feeling some of that nice release through the low back. Then lowering your right hand down to your knee or to your thigh. And as you extend the front leg, take your top hand to your hip, to your baby, or up towards the sky. So we're taking a version of our Trikonasana, a version of our triangle. Good. Left hand is down, pardon. Yes. Good. Perfect. We'll finish this out starting to look down. Taking a big circle of the arm, bring your left hand down to your block or to your mat. Lift your back knee up and start to sink into a nice long lizard lunge. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle your back toe back to give that space. So for lizard lunge, we're exploring the sensation of trying to take the foot forward of the knee. You could bring your back knee down for more support, but then sometimes it can be nice to keep it up because you get a little bit more kind of wiggle room. So your front toe and knee are kind of turning out on a diagonal here, like a lizard. Good. And you can find little shifts and sways. You bring the back knee down to the earth if it hasn't already. Start to flex your toe towards your shin and walk your hands in. Extending the leg with a little turn out to the side. Sometimes it doesn't take much to kind of get that awareness into the outer edge of the thigh, the outer edge of the knee. Both hands can be on the inside of the leg if that feels more spacious. If you're not feeling much sensation here through that outer leg, you could walk a hand outside. Again, just a subtle, not a deep twist, just a subtle twist coming, yes, so you'd be going towards that leg if you want more stretch. Starting to bring both hands back forward on your mat. And then wiggling the heel out to the side and back. And again, take that idea of stretching into the calf, a little shift and lift. And then we'll make our way through downward facing dog. But option to take, we call it a gentle vinyasa. So both knees can be on the mat. So traditionally, maybe you're familiar seeing like, oh, there's an up dog, a down dog, and as your baby's growing, you don't want to lay onto your belly, or that idea of a really deep back bend doesn't make as much sense. So our gentle vinyasa, you can watch first if you like, goes like this. So we take exhale to child's pose, inhale lifting to cow, exhale rounding to cat, and then inhale to extend, exhale bow. So again, it's inhale, we come forward. So this is your sense of push-up. Exhale, we take a child's pose. Inhale, scooping the heart forward for cow. And then exhale, rounding to scoop to down dog. So now you can join in feeling that out. So inhale, we come forward to the top of a push-up, kissing the knees down. Exhale, child's child's pose, keeping it active, stretching strong. Inhale, elbows bend towards the earth. Peel your heart forward so it's that active cow. And then exhale, rounding through cat and down dog from that. Good. One more time. Inhale, shift forward, kneeling plank. Exhale, active child's pose. Inhale, active cow, lift your heart long. Exhale, start to dome your back strong as you lift the knees down dog. We'll make our way towards the top of our mat, so slowly stepping your feet forward. Good, and remembering that halfway rise. Inhale, hands to shins or thighs. Exhale, bend the knees, look forward. Inhale, little spring as we rise. That's that Udana, that's upward energy that our shoulders just kind of want to do that as we go. So we'll step this time, keeping your right foot forward, step your left foot back long, opening towards this side. Slightly different, but that same sort of squat, toes and knees point out. As you exhale, start to round. And then turn your toes back in. This might be plenty. Or you could walk your hands out more like a downward facing dog. So this can be a valuable practice in that spinning babies. Or we just think of doing a little sway or skandasana, swaying of the hips side to side. Where you have just that little bit of inversion, but you're encouraging that swirl side to side. Good, just think of that little goldfish in the bag, so excited for something new. And then we bring that swaying towards stilling, taking just a generous twist, a gentle twist. So keeping your left hand on the ground. If this feels too, or on your block or ground, if this feels too folded forward, you can take the left hand back up to the knee. We take our right hand to our hip as we open the chest towards the front of our space. You can explore a little bit of kind of cat-cow at your tail here. Good, and we'll do both sides, pardon. And then we take the hand back down to the ground to switch it out. Broadening the chest towards the opposite way, hand on hip. And the way your chest is open towards, you might try bending that knee more deeply. But whatever way your chest is opening, bending that knee can bring some more sensation on the inseam of the thigh. Or you might be like, we've got sensation. Don't need much more. Everyone start to release your hands back down to the earth. Bend your knees a lot as you look forward. Inhale. Exhale, bring your hands to the support of your knees. And then inhale, lightly float yourself up. Good. Your front toe or heel turns in towards me, and your back leg could go longer as we come towards our warrior two. Hands on hips, we encourage that sink down of the pelvis. And then the arms can flow out into a T. Good, so back toes pointing towards the long edge of the mat, turn towards me just a touch more. Back, other foot, left foot. Yes, exactly. So that you really feel here, that's perfect. Let's take an inhale, extend both of your legs, reach up nice and light, like you're grabbing towards the sky, and exhale, the arms float wide. Good, one more, inhale, grabbing up. And exhale, good, find that tricky balance, floating wide. Giving yourself a hug, back arm under front. You hold shoulders or opposite hands. And pushing the elbows away from you. And then wrap your torso forward. Diving softly inside your front thigh. Cradling yourself here. Good. Fantastic. Then your lower left hand comes down to your knee or shin. We start to extend the front leg again. Imagine kind of pulling up under your ribs. You can hold your baby or take the hand up towards the sky. Good. Version of a triangle pose. If it feels too much stretch through that side, you can come upward higher on the thigh. Good. And then we start to circle the arms down to the ground. We'll step back into a lunge. So back heel, wiggle, wiggle, wiggles back. Both hands come to your blocks or your mat inside your front foot. And we take that lizard lunge. So back heel, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle back. And you can lower the knee or keep it lifted as you kind of Letting your front toe and knee turn out on more of a diagonal. And maybe the back knee comes down to the earth. Maybe the elbows melt, a little softening. And we walk the hands in closer to the torso as we extend the front leg. You can kind of rainbow the toes, so feeling out. Sometimes out more towards the side can be a good sensation in getting into that IT band, that outer hip space. Or keeping the toe more upright, getting into the hamstrings. You can kind of just find that loosening of rotation. Pregnancy is a time to really find space, to find opening. So whether it's the baby's growing and oh, if I can't breathe here, can I feel the breath here? Or you're looking around at your space and you're like, how am I going to fit all this stuff? We find that space, we grow. Start to bring a little support back into your hands as your legs swirl to the side, find an unwind. Maybe a little shake out as you press back through the calf. And then lowering both knees down to the earth. So we'll take our bolster here, so I'll kind of give a couple little yogis choice. So you might find sitting onto a block or sitting onto the bolster, just kind of like at the butt between your knees. So we'll take our knees a little wider than our hips and move flesh from out from under the knees. Move adjust here so you can feel out, okay, what's going to be a good option for you. And just letting the knees come a little bit wider. And this allows us to do a little bit of kind of pressing down and forward as we encourage that support. We'll do a couple of those pelvic floor awareness breaths and a couple of the belly breaths. So your hands could rest on your knees or hugging along your uterus, along your baby. And just noticing the natural rhythm of your breath at first. So noticing if your breath tends to rise mostly in the chest. If you think of your breath as happening with an exhale and then an inhale, or do you sense your breath with an inhale and then an exhale? Integrate the breath of this encouragement of hugging, of supporting. So your exhale, you're going to imagine your belly button, your baby traveling in and up, and your pelvic floor like you're sipping through a straw. So we're going to inhale, just relaxed and open, and then think of that exhale, hugging in and up. Inhale, relax. Exhale, hug. Just a couple rounds like that. If it feels like a lot to focus on at once, you might just let your focus be on that pelvic floor, hug, or that low belly lift. Invite a subtle opposite. So your exhale, you're going to feel that downward, that apana. So thinking of the muscles of the pelvic floor stretching, pushing down. The exhale of your baby hugging down rather than up and in. And sometimes it can to let yourself make sounds, finding that depth, the vibrations of a deeper sound, a deeper exhale or moan, is a more calming vibration as opposed to a squeak or a scream. We want that deep resonance. So maybe you try that now or you try that later at home. But try it before birth. Try that exhale. Just finding that feminine, cooling vibration. Soften away from that intentional breath training and just let your breathing, your moment become light. Pause back into the potential of the space of your practice. Your time together with yourself, with your baby. Gently bow your torso forward and let your eyes flicker open if they've closed. And walking your hands a couple hand prints forward so you can shift out of the knees. And we'll come to sit. You can send your heels over towards the left. Maybe you sit onto that bolster behind you as you bring the legs forward. So you can be sitting on the edge of a block or bolster, the legs just forward. About 90-degree bend. And then you can stay upright, or if you're wanting to get a little bit more lift through the sternum, it can be nice to come down onto the forearms, onto your block or onto your bolster. So two options if you're feeling kind of more tension in your low back. Having a bolster close and really focusing on, I'm pressing my low back into this, can feel really nice, and the hands kind of hold. But if at any point this starts to feel like, now I'm working so hard with my neck and throat, then coming back up to the forearms can be better. Sometimes it's nice to get just that little bit of lumbar support, thinking of pushing your back into the support of the earth. And then letting your feet just rock a little side to side. Maybe the continued rocking feels good. Or if there's a spot that is especially serving, just opening to the knees or letting the knees fall inward. Just take a couple more breaths. Allowing your knees to point up towards the sky. And then extending your legs longer. Little shape. And then feeling that exhale of tucking your chin in. And then rather than doing a continued crunch upward, we start to roll over towards the side to bring yourself up. So again, from own experience, don't overstrain. Even if you feel like, I could probably still do a crunch, just save it. Save it for later. So then, maybe different from other yoga practices, we're going to lay on the left side. Maybe you've already heard kind of that encouragement to be laying on the left side. Your body takes care. So if you have that fear, like you fall asleep, like what if I fall asleep at night and I'm on my back? Your body will move you. You'll move. You'll wake up. Don't worry. So for our option for the end of practice, rather than laying flat on the back, we have two options. So we can either do a supported lay back, where I'll set that up with the bolster. Even something as subtle as a folded towel. So you just need 4 inches of lift under that right side hip. So that is enough that you're not cutting off the circulation, which is the concern of laying on your back for blood flow. So even just having, you know, 4 inches, which is like a fist or a folded blanket. Again, this isn't the most comfortable, but it can feel so nice to be like, okay, I can be laying backwards. Or we just have about a, what is it, I'm not great at math, 30-degree minimum angle to bring yourself upright, or laying all the way onto the left side. So laying on your left side, maybe you found a pregnancy pillow you like or you hate, but it's the one you have. I remember I was just like, I needed like this many pillows so I could sleep like this. But in our yoga practice, we can take the block under the outer head and just take that left knee over the top. There's more baby space. You can have your bolster on blocks too. But I encourage you to find a space where the thigh, or pardon, the shin is parallel with the extended leg, or the ankle is higher, just for what I've kind of been talking about, of we want to cultivate that space through the hip, rather than just having a pillow, just having stuff under this upper knee. It's not bad, but I encourage lifting that whole outer leg, just to encourage the space that we want eventually here at the base of the pelvis. So, one option will be laying there on your left side with the support under. Another option, which like yogi-wise can be really nice, is we'll take a ramp. So we'll take the blocks towards the back of your mat, one on the highest height, one on the lowest height. I'm going to take the bolster just along here. You can use your blanket as a blanket if you're chilly, or it comes right up here like a little pillow. So that when you come to lay down, again, you'll take a little bit more lay towards the left side before rolling to your back. The knees could stay up, they could fall inward, or out to the side. Okay, yogis, so choose your own adventure. Take your time settling into this space where you really get to nourish yourself. Take this space, again, to encourage your own body. You're starting to encourage, to teach that sense of intentional resting. That part of the work, part of the experience, is choosing to soften and calm. So here we start to encourage that connection with rest, or with the lunar, the feminine, the softening sense. So you might start to encourage lengthening of your exhale. Not forcing that, focusing on muscle engagement or release. Just avoiding a force or a hold of the breath. Pregnancy can be a powerful time to start to cultivate a mantra, which is a mind training or an intention setting. A mantra is a simple phrase or a singular word that's present, focused, and empowering. So maybe you start to offer a word that comes to mind, strength or calm. Maybe that mantra is something that becomes a part of the yoga, of the connection. Not just you, not just your baby, but we together. Could be something as simple as we are connected. One valuable during a pregnancy for me was surrounded by love. Continuing to be reminded. Surrounded by love. We can let that mantra be a warm blanket or a nourishing rain that echoes and supports. Maybe it helps soften our fears or celebrate our joys. before intentionally inviting movement back, just sense the aliveness in your prana, in your energy and breath. You feel that subtle opening, expansion with your inhale. That centered, calming strength of your exhale. You feel the support of the earth, of the ground. You feel the levity in the air that surrounds. And then you gently can start to change your relationship with earth and air. If you're on your back, maybe you start to bend the knees, draw them towards each other. If you're on your side, maybe you let the arms lengthen. And you can, if you're on your side, you can let the legs start to extend. And if you're on your back, just gently rolling towards the left. You might stay on that incline as you soften towards your side. And then picking your torso up. Then shifting to lay one arm beside or down. And then slowly start to push yourself up away from the ground. We'll make our way towards a seated position. However you like, cross-legged, or elbows or hands resting on knee. You might let one hand rest over your heart and the other on your knee, or along your torso, your baby. And taking in breath together, we feel the inhale for ourselves, and an exhale. A breath for our partners, for those surrounding us, and for the strength of the baby within us. Palms come together at heart center. We can seal and send out the soft bow. Namaste.
Namaste.
And namaste. Well, hopefully that was the affirmation, rejuvenation that you needed in your practice. Take your time, luxuriate. If you have other questions or anything else came up, I'm here. Let's chat. And then one on your way out, there's a little gift from Little Things, the like baby clothes and whatever store on the other side, or not what, don't tell them I said, and whatever. But and cutesy, all sorts of things. They left discount code, so if you get 20% off, you can take that coupon in anytime. There's also some different books and things that I recommend, and if any of those little mantra cards, new mama mantras, stick out to you, you can take that with you as you go. And I will email you kind of this form if you like reading back through the notes, and I'll send the class sequence to you too.
Thank you.
Of course. Yes, exciting times.
Oh, no.
Do you, you said you've been doing some yoga. Do you have other fitness practices, things that you've been modifying or thinking about changing them?
My first trimester was pretty rough, so I didn't do a lot, but before that, and now I'm starting to get back into it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm still learning.
So yeah, I see
Slower
that.
and less, and it's
So yeah,
just very body.
Oh,
But I haven't done yoga since I've been pregnant. I just, it's something I always did intermittently.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to get back.
A little bit.
Every time
Yeah,
I'm
still like
in there,
running, and then I wanted to get back into this.
like,
Good. Well, yes, hopefully it kind of answers some
Yeah.
questions, and then, like I said, there's not a prenatal class at this studio available, unfortunately, but there's a studio over in Atlanta that does offer prenatal classes.
Okay.
And then it's called Amara.
So
And then I'll send you this video. And of course, the internet has lots of good resources. So that's pretty amazing. Yeah. Good. Yes, glad you were here. Yes. Welcome
So
to
I'm doing
Matt.
Moxa right now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, Trinity. Yeah. So I'll probably try to go home and do a Moxa. A little bit. I don't know everything. It's gonna be fine.
You know everything that I've read.
Oh yeah. I did a little ultrasound.
Yeah, I know. It's like there's new car service that just takes you to your next thing after. It's so hot. Oh my gosh, yes. So so one of them is the pressure point here at the wrist. So specifically left hand, applying
Yeah.
this pressure. It's right up, so if you